everybody, welcome back to Umineko. It's episode 3, part 2. And the last time we left off, I cried like a baby at a scene. But anyway, let's forget about that. And today we're gonna start with a new chapter, also known as My Preparations Are Complete. And I'm so curious to know what exactly those preparations are. But without further ado, let's just get right into today's episode.
6年前のことか。何しろ6年って言ったら小学校丸々一つ分じゃねえか。覚えてろってのが酷な話だぜ。
そうだね。特に若かった僕たちにとっては大きな成長の6年間だったはずだからね。案外自己紹介がなかったら思い出せなかったんじゃないかい？
We wouldn't have been able to remember Battler?
そうかな。私はバトラだってすぐに分かったぜ。口を聞いてさらに確信できたぜ。
マリア、初めて会った。6年前わかんない。
She met him when she was 3, no?
そうですよね。マリア様はまだ3つでしたものね。
それを言われたら俺もだぜ。3歳の頃しか知らないマリアがこんなに大きく成長してるんだから、そりゃわからねえわけだぜ。
After lunch, we had all gone out to the beach to walk around, talk, and take it easy, enjoying ourselves. It's already after lunch. Our parents appeared somehow on edge and seemed to have things to catch up on, so we decided to leave our seats. Just as you'd expect, since it had been 6 years, the conversation focused on me.
しかし本当に背が伸びたね。僕も低いつもりはないけど、とにかくその身長には驚いたよ。
そうですね。6年前のバトラ様をよく覚えておりますが、それでも驚くくらいでした。
だなあ。6年前のバトラからは想像がつかないくらいだったぜ。
みんな案外6年も前のことなんか覚えてるもんだな。俺なんかかなり記憶があやふやだってのによ。
だろうな。私たちのことを思い出すのに少し時間をかけてたみたいだもんな。あれはちょっと傷つくぜ。
いや、さすがに6年前だぜ。覚えてろって方が無理があるぜ。
6年前のことですと、あまり覚えてはおられないのですか？私はつい昨日のことのように鮮明に覚えておりますが。
Maybe Shannon has really good memory.
シャノンは記憶力がいいからね。6年前にバトラ君がどんなことをしていたとか言っていたとかよく覚えてるんじゃないかい？
そういやそうだよな。シャノンって妙なところで記憶力がいいんだよな。
マリア覚えるの下手くそ。楽しいことはスイスイ覚えるけど、つまんないのは全然ダメ。
We all laughed, saying that everyone was like that.
シャノン、ちなみに6年前のバトラはどんなだったんだ？何かエピソードを覚えてないのかよ。
そうですね。確か、お帰りの際はこうおっしゃっていました。また来るぜ、See you again。きっと白馬にまたがって迎えに来るぜ。
He said this to Shannon?
ギャー！ダメ！恥ずかしい！
I get this. So embarrassing.
確かにそんな感じだった。6年前のバトラはそんな感じのバカっぽいセリフばかり言ってたぜ。
確かに当時のバトラ君がいかにも言いそうだな。
恥ずかしい？恥ずかしい？
ああ、
He's crying.
最高に恥ずかしいぜ。マリアもきっと中学くらいになったらそういう恥ずかしいことが口にしたくなるからね。そういう時は 口に出す前にチラシの裏に書いて3度読み直してから口にすべきかどうか考えるんだぞ。
Spoken like someone with first-hand experience. I mean, he does. But good advice, Maria. You should take it.
じゃねえときっと後悔するからな。いや、誰しもがそういう痛々しい時代をくぐり抜けていくのだ。そうさ。そして身の程を知り恥を覚えて大人になるんだ。そうさ。これは大人への過渡期なら誰もが犯す青春の甘酸っぱくて恥ずかしい消し去りたい記憶なんだ。うわー、ぐわー。
You see, I tend to let my mouth run wild without thinking too much, so I don't remember all the details of everything I say. But when the contents are recited back to me afterwards, it's always something extremely embarrassing. In recent years, I have finally come to understand this weakness and have been working hard to refrain from such careless outbursts, but it seems I was just born with the habit of speaking without thinking, and there isn't a whole lot I can do about it.
シャーノン、他にも何か恥ずかしいことは覚えてないのかよ。
まあ、他にもいろいろと覚えておりますけれど、ご本人もお忘れになりたいことみたいなので、これ以上は遠慮させていただきたいと思います。
ぶっちゃけると俺はもう何も覚えてないんだ。頼むから思い出させないでくれ。
おお、シャノンがバトラーをいじめてる？ダメ！いじめはいけないの！
別にいじめてるわけじゃないんだよ。この話はこれくらいにしようか。でもシャノン、後でバトラ君のいないところでこっそり教えてね。
That's still bullying. It's gossiping.
なんだか面白そうだから。
Everyone's having fun teasing Battler.
はい、かしこまりました。
そりゃねえぜ、シャノンちゃんよ。
For a while, George Aniki teased me by pretending to ask Shannon for more of my embarrassing misspeaks. George Aniki was messing around teamed up with Shannon-chan, but he seemed, how to describe it, very candid and frank. He was always frank with his cousins, but he usually took on a reserved, gentlemanly attitude when he came in contact with the servants. When I thought about it, I got the feeling that he was acting a little overly familiar, which seemed slightly weird. Oh, Battler, you are catching on. Maria started scribbling in the sand with a stick, and George Aniki and Shannon-chan joined in, which left me with Jessica off to the side, so I asked her secretively.
よー、ジェシカ。ジョージの兄貴ってさ、シャノンちゃんと付き合ってたりする？
おお！なんでわかったんだよ。バトラーお前、見かけより人を見てんな。
He's so shocked.
俺、冗談で言ったつもりだったんだけど、本当に付き合ってんのかよ。
声が大きいって。一応内緒の付き合いってことらしいぜ。特にエヴァおばさんの耳には入れない方がいいよ。
なるほど。使用人との恋か。いやでもいつの間に？はあ、6年ってすげえな。でも確かに兄貴なら人間もできてるし、シャノンちゃんも優しくて海外しそうだし、お似合いかもな。
Actually, 6 years ago, I remember taking notice of her just a little bit. So that's how it is. She really fits well with George Aniki. Nothing I can do about that. Goodbye, my fleeting first love of 6 years ago. Which means that my collection of embarrassing lines that Shannon-chan just held back on probably has something to do with that. I just can't take it.
兄貴たち、付き合ってどのくらいになるんだ？
どの段階から付き合ってると呼ぶのかにもよるだろうけど、確実に1年以上は続いてると思うぜ。双方片思い時代を含めると数年になるんじゃねえのかな。
Before I'd realized it, the two of them had separated themselves from the group and were walking down the beach talking about something. They looked calm, and rather than a light relationship between two lovers, it looked like a more serious relationship, as though they were already engaged.
6年か。でっけえ月日だな。
I do feel like this 6-year period is quite important.
俺にとってのこの6年は何だったんだ？図体がでかくなっただけだな。親父との親子喧嘩で意地を張り合ううちに6年も経っちまったってだけのくだらない時間だったな。
バートラの方こそどうなんだよ。彼女とかできたのかよ。
さて、一緒に遊ぶ女の子は何人かいるぜ。だけどオンリーワンって関係はまだねえな。俺がお子様なんだろうよ。誰かと二人っきりでいるよりみんな大勢でワイワイやってる方が楽しいように思えるんだ。
そりゃなんともバトラらしいぜ。でも女友達との関係はちゃんとしっかりしておけよ。女の思い込みとコミュニティは怖えぜ。勝手にバトラをめぐって暗闘が繰り広げられて、勝手に誰かが泣いたり傷ついたりしているかもしれないぜ。
おかしいな。同じ忠告をつい先週クラスの女から受けた気がするぜ。なんだってんだろうな。どうしてみんなで楽しく過ごせねえんだ。そうまでしてつがいになりたいのかね。
バートラがまだそういう相手に会ったことがねえからだろうぜ。まあおいおいそういう女に出会うこともあるだろうよ。気長に待つこったな。
なんだよ、まるでお前にはもうそういう相手がいるみたいな言い方じゃねえかよ。お前はどうなんだよ。彼氏とかできたのかよ。
You can tell right away from her expression.
私かよ。いや、
なんつうわかりやすい反応だよ。見たところ気になる男はいるけどまだ告白もできてねえって、そういうところだろ。
そういうわけでは、先生、私のことなんかどうでもいいだろ。
話を振ってきたのはそっちのくせに、なんで俺が逆ギレされなきゃならねえんだ。女って生き物は質問ばかりで、そのくせ自分が質問に答えることは決してないんだよな。ずるい生き物だぜ。まったく。
告白はさ、一度はしたんだよ。
Oh my goodness, when?
まあ、盛大に空振りでさ。
ごめんなさい。ってか？
いや、
Knowing Canon, he probably didn't even get what Jessica was trying to say.
まあ、私がすごく一方的だったんで、面食らわれたというのかな。
Oh, I should give Canon more credit than I did.
そういう対象だとも思われてなかったという雰囲気。
そりゃあそうだろうよ。お前の言葉遣いは男勝りだからな。もうちょいおしとやかにしないと男心をくすぐらないぜ。
やっぱり私みたいな言葉遣いじゃ受け悪いかな。
No, not at all, Jessica. Just be yourself.
まあ言葉遣いが全てじゃないだろうが、お前みたいな普段の言葉遣いが悪いやつが急にまともな言葉で話すように努力し始めたら、そういう気概みたいなもんでドキッときちまう男もいるかもな。
そうなんだ。そうか。
Jessica had suddenly started speaking meekly and was faintly blushing. I see. Even though her confession didn't go well, it looks like she still hasn't given up. But yeah, I totally get that. After seeing how close George, Aniki, and Shannon-chan had gotten, it's no wonder she'd start wanting a boyfriend. 6 years. Those 6 years of puberty are pretty important, and they go by so fast. With the typhoon approaching, the clouds had grown steadily grayer, and yet, even so, I had this really refreshing feeling. Maybe I'll start thinking more seriously about the opposite sex. More than just the size of their boobs.
ところで、ジョージの兄貴は使用人のシャノンちゃんと付き合ってるわけだが、まさかジェシカまでってことはないよな。
Oh my Battler, sharp as always.
どうしてそう思うんだよ。
そういや、バラ庭園で挨拶したカノン君って若い子。
I don't know, but it feels like episode 3 is unfolding just like episode 1. I mean, in episode 1, we basically got the full rundown of what happened, right? They come off the boat, they go through the garden, and Kennen was there, Goda was there. The same thing happened in episode 3, and seems to be happening the same way, too. In episode 2, I think we didn't really get to see that because the timeline was a little confusing between the past, which was like Shannon... I don't know, was it even a past? But there was a whole thing with Shannon and George. And then we don't see this part ever about them, you know, going to the rose garden and all that. So, I don't know. It really feels like everything is happening over and over again.
口下手だからって、ジェシカ、やたらとかばってたよな。
And there was this too. Yeah, exactly. Jessica did cover for him.
いや、そんなことは。勘ぐりすぎだって。
じゃあさ、これだけは教えろよ。今、この瞬間。ジェシカが狙ってる男は、半径1キロ以内にいるか？
This is a cheat. This is cheating. Rokenjima is like isolated. There's no other person that is not related to Jessica. That is in this island that is not canon. Am I making sense? Kennen is literally the only person that Jessica could be talking about. Unless you want to count, like, Oda and Genji.
いや、それはどうだろう。
Kennen-kun is the only boy on this island now who could possibly become her boyfriend. Though judging by her reaction, I'm probably right on. I don't think of the Ushiromiya family as a noble family, but two people in love with servants... I'd never have dreamed that the two pairs of Romeo and Juliet would be right next to me. Oh my. Auntie Eva will probably become an obstacle to George, Aniki, and Shannon-chan's love. If Auntie Eva learns that the partner of her only son, the apple of her eye, is Shannon-chan, she'll probably scream at her with cries of wretched servant, homewrecker, and so forth. And a relationship between Jessica and Kennen-kun would probably be just as full of difficulties. Natsuhi also seemed the type to be strict about that kind of thing. After all, Jessica's husband would probably become the head of the Ushiromiya family in the future. If that person had once been a servant working for the family, well, no doubt things would become complicated.
ま、人の恋路なんてそれぞれさ。一緒にいて楽しい相手とつがいになりゃいいじゃねえか。つがいってのは互いが互いを認め合う以外に何の許可もいりやしない。親がどうこう、家がどうこうなんて気にしたら負けだぜ。それを忘れるなよ。半端な気持ちで付き合うんじゃねえぜ。
恋もしたことねえくせに達観したようなことを言いやがって。
恋は損得感情でするなよ。ハートでしろよ。俺が言いたいことはそんだけさ。
He just said something embarrassing.
んじゃな。See you again. Have a nice day.
That's so funny.
ジョージ兄さん、シャーノ聞いて聞いて、パートだったらこいつまた面白いセリフを言い出したぜ。
何も言ってないって何も言ってないって。ああ、茶化すな茶化すな。
マリア聞いてた、マリア聞いてた。 See you again! See you again!
For a while, we forgot about the wind getting stronger and played around on the beach. This meeting with my cousins, who had grown so much over these last 6 years and were thoroughly enjoying their youth, felt truly refreshing. I also just want to say that I know Battler always comes off as someone who is very, like, ditzy. Ditzy's kind of the word here. He always just acts like a goofball, but he really does think a lot about the atmosphere and how everyone is feeling. Like just now with Jessica, he said those cheesy lines on purpose. I'm pretty sure he said it on purpose, and he always tries to liven up the mood. So really, I ought to give Battler more credit than I have. It was a little late now, but I realized that I should have buried the hatchet a lot sooner and returned to the Ushinomiya family.
いとこ同士ってのもたまにはいいもんだな。
マリアもいとこで集まるの楽しくて好き。
そうだな。俺たちももういい年なんだ。別に親がいなくても会えるだろう。たまにはいとこだけで集まって遊ぶのも悪くないかもしれないな。
それはいい提案だね。いつかそういう機会を設けてもいいかもしれないね。
同感だね。私たちいとこはいつまでもずっと仲良しがいいよ。
おいおい、そこを強調するとまるで普段の親戚同士の仲が悪いように聞こえちまうぜ。
George, Aniki, and Jessica laughed, but it felt just a little strained, so they too understand what's going on. Did I say too much? Judging by how our parents had made quiet expressions and tired faces every once in a while during the boat ride and at the airport, maybe that was something I shouldn't have said.
そうだな。ジェシカの言う通りだぜ。俺たちはいつまでも仲良しでいようぜ。
マリアも一緒。みんな仲良し。
そうだね。うん。僕たちはいつだってみんな一緒だよ。みんな仲良しだよ。
This is so ominous. It feels like foreshadowing to something sad.
私たち何恥ずかしいこと言い合ってんだろうな。なんだか照れちまうぜ。
でもとても大切なことだと思いますよ。人は願わねばいつまでも一緒にいることどころか仲良くいることさえ難しい生き物なのですから。
そうだね。みんなが仲良くいられることを決して当たり前なことだと思ってはいけないね。
知り合いの魔女が言ってた。
The very first mention of a witch from Maria.
幸せはみんなが信じなくちゃ叶わないんだって。
Happiness won't be granted unless everyone believes in it. I wonder if this would mean anything.
確かにね。信じる力には魔法が宿るかもしれない。それを全員が信じたなら、きっと幸せを運んできてくれるだろうね。
よし。なら恥ずかしいことのついでだ。私たちはみんなで信じ合うと誓おうぜ。みんないつまでも仲良しで、いつまでも幸せでいようって。
Through becoming like our parents, searching for each other's weaknesses, going after grandfather's fortune, screw all of that forever.
おう、俺たちはみんないつまでも仲良しで幸せだ。それをみんなで信じようぜ。
No matter how long it had been, or how much fun we were having, it didn't stop the dark clouds from approaching Rokkenjima. I wonder if the typhoon will pass and show us the refreshing sky before we leave this island. Who gives a crap about what our parents are plotting? Who gives a crap about inheritance and the honor of our old family? I don't know. Feels like foreshadowing too. We're so young and renewing our old friendship. And every one of us believes that together we can all be happy. So, I want this day to end without anything weird occurring, in peace and happiness calmly. That is foreshadowing. No, not I want it to end. Please, let it end. That's so odd. Oh my god. No, that was scary. Oh, I should have known something like that would happen. But when I saw Battler's odd phrasing of words, I should have known that would happen. Yeah, it really does seem like it was something that the real Battler? No, I don't know, but the Battler that's with Beatrice here might be thinking. It feels so weird, like they're all in some kind of simulation. She really is scaring me.
くっしゃーお前は出るなよ現れるなよくそくそくそ
待たせたな。ようやく新しいゲームの用意が整ったぞ。さあさあ始めようではないか。惨劇の物語を訪れよ。雨よ、風よ、台風よ。この島をうつしおより切り離す。
Oh, so the typhoon is the moment a typhoon arrives. Right, that's when things start getting weird. So the typhoon kind of isolates the island from the real world, and then it becomes something entirely different.
異界へ魔界へ幻想界へ六軒島を放り込め。
Really? Is it really? Is Rokkenjima really in another dimension, in another world entirely? But if I believe this, do I believe the witch? I don't know. There's some things that are just so confusing. And so, the tale repeated for the third time. However, before the Endless Witch, what point was there in counting 1, 2, 3? There was probably no point at all. After all, this tale of fantasy would be repeated endlessly until the match was settled and either Battler or the witch surrendered. So then what is this episode going to be about? And the sky grew dark and cloudy. The rain and wind were summoned together and became a typhoon. And Maria could be seen in the rose garden, paying no mind to the rain that had started falling. Going around in circles, searching for that single rose which she had surely marked.
ない。目印をつけたマリアのバラがない。
Right, this is playing out exactly like what happened in episode 1. Maria definitely remembered it. That rose had been in a flower bed right here. And yet, it wasn't. She didn't know what to do with her irritation at not being able to find something which should have been there. And moaning bitterly, she couldn't help but keep going back and forth in circles around the same spot. She was acting almost as though she would be able to see it if she looked at a different angle. But try as she might, there was no way she would find something that wasn't there. The wind grew increasingly stronger, and the rain turned into cold, large drops. There was no way Maria wasn't bothered by this. However, if she couldn't find her rose here, it would surely disappear forever. Maria believed that. That feeling spurred her on to keep searching for a rose that she had no chance of finding. Just then, the cold drops of rain that were tormenting Maria were suddenly blocked. The umbrella? Maria raised her head. When she did, she saw that an umbrella was opened there, protecting her from the rain. And the one holding out that umbrella was Beatrice. The witch she admired, Beatrice. It really feels like the relationship between Maria and Beatrice mirrors the one Beatrice had with her master.
ベアトリーチェ。
このような雨の中、何を必死になっているのよ。体を冷やせば風邪をひくこともあろう。魔女たるもの。自らの健康も気遣いたいものよね。
To be honest, thinking about the relationship between Beatrice and her master. Since Beatrice learned to train as a witch under her master, and Maria claims to be a witch herself, perhaps Maria looks at Beatrice as her master as well. I don't know. It feels like that could be the case, and maybe Beatrice sees a bit of her younger self in Maria here. Maybe she has a soft spot for Maria. I don't know. She did try to bake Maria though in the oven in Purgatory, but maybe that was also just all an act.
マリアのね、バラが見つからないの。おお、何度探してもね、ここにあったはずなのに見つ。
Maria told Beatrice about how there had been a slightly unhealthy, pitiful rose, and that she was sure they had marked it.
それが見つからぬと。そなたも魔女の見習いならば、魔法にてバラを探してみるという。目だけで探そうとするうちは、それには遥かに及ばぬであろうね。
見つけられない。マリアも頑張って魔法で探そうとしてるけど見つけられない。
魔法の修行にはちょうど良いかとも思うが、この風雨はそなたには少しきつかろう。わらわが特別に力を貸してやる。弟子の身を案ずるのも師匠の役割だからな。
So I'm right that Maria is Beatrice's disciple. Maria's face, which had been full of sadness until just now, split open into a grin. Maria knew. She knew that there was nothing Beatrice's magic couldn't do. Though she was sure that Beatrice would easily be able to find the rose that she couldn't find herself. Beatrice closed her eyes lightly, acting as though she was listening for something in all this wind and rain. Then she heard it, opened her eyes, and spoke.
商業無常よね。残念だな、マリア。この風雨にそなたのバラは耐えられなかったらしい。
それじゃマリアのバラは
風雨に散り、すでにこの世のものではない。
That would actually make sense. What Beatrice had said was certainly plausible. There was nothing odd about the wind or the flower being broken off at the stem in this strong wind. However, Maria couldn't accept this and bitterly gave a low-pitched moan.
やだ。マリアのバラなの。マリアのバラが帰ってこないと嫌だ。マリアの魔法で生き返らせる。ベアトリーチェ、魔法でバラを蘇らせるのを教えて。
無限の魔法の秘術。そなたごとき見習いにはまだまだ早いわ。身の程を知れ。
Poor Maria. Maria wiped the tears from her eyes, full of regret. Seeing that expression, which so invited pity, Beatrice shrugged her shoulders and chuckled.
よかろう。バラを蘇らせる秘術。わらわが力を貸してやろうぞ。
本当？
ではそなたの心の力を集中させるがいい。目を閉じ、雨を忘れ風を忘れ、航行するバラの魂を心の目で探すのだ。
Maria closed her eyes. Then she repeated Beatrice's poem-like words.
さあさあ、思い出してごらんなさい。
Sounds exactly like what we heard.
バラよ、そなたがどんな姿をしていたのか。
さあさあ、思い出してごらんなさい。バラよ、そなたがどんな姿をしていたのか。
見るな、聞くな、そして信じ、肉の檻に閉じ込められし魂の力を解放せよ。そう、よいぞ。
Around Maria, who was concentrating her power, her eyes tightly shut, small golden butterflies began to dance. Was this the manifestation of the magical power Maria held?
さまよえしバラの魂、今一度集う。そしてその姿を思い出すがいい。さあさあ集えよ。
The glitter of the gold butterflies began to strengthen, and their numbers increased. Then Beatrice raised a finger up to the skies, and they began to gather at the tip of that finger. This was the miracle of the golden magic, and the gold butterflies began to condense into a single dazzling grain of gold. It was a single seed, glittering gold. It sat on the tip of Beatrice's finger, budded into a golden sprout, and opened into a golden leaf. It then slowly fell from that fingertip, sank into the mud of the flower bed, and began to grow steadily. Maria, who admired magic and witches, must have really wanted to see this fantastical sight. However, as an apprentice, Maria was still not qualified to see it. No, she was probably afraid that, if she opened her eyes to look, the power of her heart's concentration would be interrupted and the magic would be lost. Therefore, it was Beatrice, the one permitted to lay eyes on that golden miracle, who was the one and only witch and the master of many miracles. Then, the fully grown rose bloomed, creating one golden flower. And when Beatrice poked it with her finger in just the right way, the gold-colored sparkles scattered, just as if a golden soap bubble had popped, and what remained was a single beautiful rose.
立派な花を思い出したようだな。だがこのままでは他のバラたちに混じってしまい、区別がつかなくなってしまうというものよ。もう一つサービスしておくか。
Beatrice, for the sake of her cute apprentice witch who was moaning even more now in concentration, decided to cast one more little spell. What kind of spell? She snapped her finger, and a single gold butterfly appeared, fluttered around, and landed on a flower that had just been revived. Then it suddenly burst open and disappeared, becoming golden lace and marking the rose.
これでよかろう。マリア、もう目を開けてもよいぞ。
おお、バラはどこ？ない。
そっちではないぞ、こっちだ。ほら、金モールで印をつけておいてやったぞ。
はあ、本当だ。すごい。ベアト、ありがとう。マリアも早く魔女になりたい。ベアトみたいな大
かつてのわらわもまたそなたのように無邪気にそれを望み至ったのだ。
Maria was ecstatic over the revived Rose, clapping her hands and jumping around in joy. Watching that, Beatrice also smiled, looking fairly pleased. There are a lot of thoughts in my head right now, but I think I'll keep them for the end. Now if I try, I can break or repair any soul, not just that of a rose, and kill and revive as I please. So the barrier created by the storm had closed Rokkenjima off from the real world. Since a lot of things are parallel to what happened to episode 1, and also between Maria and Beatrice, it seems like there is also that parallel in their relationships. So I can't help but wonder if everything that's happening on this island is also somehow a parallel to what happened to Beatrice's past? Perhaps so? And if everything that's happening in episode 3 is going to play out in the same way as episode 1, or at least close to episode 1, then why was episode 2 such an anomaly? It was quite different, because instead of reviving the rose in episode 2, Beatrice revived is kind of an odd word here. She repaired the broken candy. So, the barrier created by the storm has closed Rokkenjima off from the real world. Now is the time for the Golden Witch, the Endless Witch, Beatrice, to descend. Right. Beatrice pulled from her pocket an envelope with the family crest, the one-winged eagle, and gave it to Maria. Maria frolicked around at being selected to be the witch's messenger.
さて金蔵、そなたの遊びに再び付き合いに来たぞ。わらわの準備はすでに万端よ。
Okay, so my preparations refer to Beatrice's preparations.
そなたの方はどうなのか。今宵のゲームにかけるコインの用意は十分であろうな。
Coins? Bets? Are they really betting on the outcome of every game? I feel like they have mentioned that before, right?
물론準備は十分であるぞベアトリーチェ。駒はふんだんに用意したぞ。備えも心構えも十分だ。さあアンティを支払おうではないか。そなたに授けられ、最後にはそなたに全て返すべきものだ。
Is that the beginning of the match? Well, it seems so. The ante is him returning everything that was once Beatrice's.
さあ受け取れ。
Kinzo flung the window of his study wide open, took off the reasonably large golden ring which had been on his finger, and threw it into the darkness of the raging wind and rain. That ring was struck by lightning, and after twinkling for gold for an instant, disappeared. Kinzo watched it go, grinning broadly and fearlessly.
負ける気はせぬぞ。お前は私のものなのだ。永遠に。
Oh my. The ring that Kinzo had thrown became a single gold butterfly and fluttered around in the wind and rain. It headed for the rose garden, almost as though it was being guided there. He then found the figure of the Golden Witch and fluttered down. When it arrived right in front of Beatrice, it burst into a flash of gold and returned to its original form of a ring. flipping up into the air. It seemed as if it would simply fall back down into a puddle of water, but suddenly it stopped in midair. Almost as if some transparent person had caught it. Somehow this seemed unexpected, even to Beatrice. However, she soon realized who it was and grinned broadly at it. Who? Oh? What is this? As she did, the figure of the person who had caught the ring began to fuzzily appear. It was the figure of a young man, wearing a butler's uniform embroidered with a one-winged eagle crest. Furniture? There was no man like this among the servants who served the Ushiromiya family. Even so, Beatrice laughed as though it was someone she remembered fondly.
ロノウェか。ずいぶん久しぶりになるな。
I thought he would be with Beatrice, but is he not?
わらわのことを覚えておったとは。そなたはつくづく忠義に熱い男よ。
長いご無沙汰を頂戴しておりました。このロノフへ、お嬢様にお仕えしていることを忘れた日など、ただの一日もございませんよ。
So he is serving Beatrice.
それよりも、お嬢様にこそ、私をお忘れになられたのではないかと、ヒヤヒヤしておりました。
He seems to be able to speak his mind freely with Beatrice.
何しろ、お嬢様は大層お忘れっぽくていらっしゃいますので。
なるほど。確かにわらわは忘れやすいよ。そなたの皮肉を聞くまで思い出せぬとは
な。お嬢様、これを。
With an exaggerated yet elegant gesture, he bowed respectfully and held out to Beatrice the head's ring that he had just caught.
後ろ宮金蔵より返還されました。後ろ宮家当主の指輪でございます。指輪は再び主のもとに。
金蔵によるゲームの開始宣言。確かに受け取ったぞ。
さて、今宵はどのようなお遊びになさいましょうか。早速、ルーレットをご用意いたしましょうか。
Roulette again.
それとも、まずは紅茶をご用意いたしましょうか。
どちらにしようか迷うが、とりあえずそなたの挨拶が必要であろうな。あやつめ、開いた口が塞がらぬというような顔をしているに違いないぞ。
Battler.
なあ、バトラー。
はじめまして。自己紹介をいたします。ベアトリーチェお嬢様のおそばにてお仕えしておりますロノウェと申します。どうぞよろしくお願い申し上げますよ。
ほらな、開いた口が塞がらないという顔であろう。
当たり前だろ。またこんなわけのわかんない奴が出てきやがった。ヤギ頭が盆踊りを始めるのかとぼやいたら、ヤギ頭がうようよ現れて、太もも姉ちゃんたちが7人も出てきて、その上今度は羊まで出てきやがった。わけわかんねえよ。もういい加減にしやがれよ。
I feel like Battler is always saying the things that I want to say in my head.
ところで
Oh goodness. Her eyes.
気づいていたか？こやつとそなたの対面だが、これが本当の悪魔の証明であることを気づいたかな？
No, actually I don't get it.
悪魔の証明だと？どういう意味だよ。
こやつはこう見えても72柱に名を連ねる生粋の悪魔でな。
Is it?
つまりわらわは悪魔を直接連れてきて、まさにその存在を証明してみせたわけだ。ロノウェは地獄に爵位を持つ序列27位の大悪魔よ。なかなかに使える男でな。高級で召し上げて わらわの世話をさせておるのだ。
ご紹介いただけまして光栄です。地獄の貴族に名を連ねど、今は卑しい人間の分際で悪魔も裸足で逃げ出すような大魔女であられるベアトリーチェ様の家具頭として使える身ですよ。
Oh, thank you for clarifying that Beatrice is in fact human, but she's also a witch who has lived for 1,000 years. Are witches humans? What is magic and what is the concept of witches? It all feels so confusing.
実に使える男なのだが、何しろ口のヘラのやつでな。時に主への敬いを忘れるのがたまに傷よ。
言葉遣いに関しましては契約書から漏れておりましたもので、そのように契約を変更いたしますか？
わらわも退屈せぬからそれでいい。
Beatrice turned her back to him, cackling. After bowing once to her back, Ronove turned back to Battler and stuck out his right hand, showing off an innocent smile. Normally, this would mean that he was asking for a handshake.
何の真似だよ。
私もお嬢様のわがままに振り回されている身です。その意味では私たちは良き友人になれるかと思いますよ。これは友情の握手です。もちろん悪魔の契約の締結を意味するものではありませんのでご安心を。
Can you trust a demon? Can you? Will Battler shake his
悪
hand?
いが、俺はあんたの主と大喧嘩の真っ最中でね。俺が敵と握手をするのは雨の校庭でぶちのめし合って互いがボロボロになって交わせ青春ドラマみたいなシチュエーションの時だけさ。覚えておきな。
なるほど。バトラ様と握手を交わすには十分な雰囲気作りとふさわしい場、そして心に響く甘い言葉と肉体言語の交わし合いが必要ということですね。
I like this guy already. He has a way with words.
機会を見てその場を準備いたしましょう。私めもそういうシチュエーションは大好きでございますよ。
He's laughed too. Everyone in Umineko laughs in a very peculiar way. Laughing tauntingly, Ronove whispered that to Battler, with his face so close that their noses were almost touching. Battler, his face turning red after getting so close to another of the same sex, pushed him away. Battler.
気色悪い野郎だぜ。なるほど。ベアとの執事にぴったりのやつだ。
お褒めの言葉を賜りまして光栄です。
I just realized, but did Ronove say something that I did not realize?
私は紅茶には自信がございますので、ティータイムを楽しみにしていらしてくださいね。クッキーを焼くのが趣味でございますので、お茶菓子にもこうご期待をお願いいたします。
さすがは同性同士だな。打ち解け合うのが実に早い。焼けるぞ。
これはお嬢様に嫉妬させてしまい、もしお嬢様のお客人をこっそりつまみ食いなどいたしませんよ。それではこれより他の家具どもに再び家具頭に着任いたしましたことを挨拶してまいります。
Retaken his post. And the rest of the furniture must mean Beatrice's other furniture.
しばしの暇をお許しください。
権限しているのは雑用のヤギどもと儀式役の七姉妹だけだ。
Common goats and the seven sisters.
挨拶も楽に終わろう。
おや、あの賑やかな七姉妹たちですか。やんちゃ娘たちも少しはおしとやかに成長したでしょうか。
あれがおしとやかだってんなら、俺はおしとやかの定義を疑うぜ。
そうでございますか。七姉妹ともとはもうお遊びになられたようですね。その表情から察するに、どうやら相変わらずのやんちゃぶりのようだ。
Battler has the face of a man defeated.
ベアトリーチェ様にお仕えするにふさわしい振る舞いをするようにといつも言っているのに、困った子たちだ。
その意味でなら安心しろよ。実に主にぴったりなふさわしい振る舞いだぜ。
そなたも言うようになったな。しかし会話は相手を認めるということだ。わらわとの雑談に応じるようになったということは、そなたがわらわの存在を徐々に認め始めている証拠。
たとえお天道様が西から昇ることがあろうとも、絶対の絶対絶対お前を魔女だと認定などしねえからな。泣いて俺の靴にキスしたら、もうちょい前向きに検討してやってもいいぜ。
Even if Battler was bluffing, he still spoke forcefully, a fearless expression on his face. The witch and her butler snickered together, realizing that their guest had regained more than enough of his willpower to take on a new game, and that the preparations were complete. After Ronove exchanged a few words with Beatrice, he bowed silently to Battler, scattered into gold butterflies, and disappeared.
賑やかになるのは実に嬉しいことだ。この島にたった一人閉じ込められ、己の力を取り戻せず、誰に話しかけることもできなかった日々のなんと退屈だったことか。
She had no one to talk to while she was trapped alone. And I know she was trapped because supposedly Kinzo trapped her on the island.
あの気持ち悪いやつがお前に似合いの執事だってことはよくわかった。だが教えろ。その執事がなぜ今頃になって現れた。権限しているのはヤギと七食いの姉ちゃんたちとかなんとか言ったな。どういう意味だ。
うん。そなたは抗っておるが、わらわはれっきとした魔女だ。魔界に通じ、人ならざるあまたの存在と交流を持っておる。
だろうな。お前の関係にはろくな連中がいねえぜ。ヤギの化け物に太もも姉ちゃんに、そして今度は悪魔の執事と来たわけだ。まさかとは思うが、この調子でまだおかしな連中が増えるってんじゃねえだろうな。
わらわの荘厳なる黄金感に仕える家具どもと、そこへ遊びに来る悪魔たちがどれほどいると思っているのか。まだまだ訪れるぞ。いくらでも現れるぞ。黄金鏡の扉を開き、すべての家具たちを呼び戻し、わらわはこの六軒島に新たなる城を建てるのだ。そして懐かしき友人たちすべてを招き、三日三晩を飲み明かし、踊り明かしてやるつもりよ。無論金蔵の一族たちも招くつもりでいるぞ。望めばそなたもな。
You mean that everyone's gonna be dead? Well, they are all going to die, but
つまりこういうことか。お前は長いこと力を失っていたため、そいつらを呼び出せなかったと。
I can already feel that this match is going to be easier than the last match if they keep explaining everything for me, which is good for me.
それで徐々に魔力が回復してきたため、次々化け物を呼び出せるようになったと、そう言いたいわけか。
そういうことだ。そなたは最後の一戦でこそギリギリ踏みとどまっているが、その心はすでにぐらつき、わらわが魔女であることを否定できずにいる。その心のぐらつきが わらわの魔女としての力を少しずつ蘇らせているのだ。
あの気色悪い執事が現れたのは、俺が屈しかけているからだというのかよ。
そうだ。そなたは少しずつ少しずつわらわに屈している。前回のゲームではあれほどの屈辱を受けてまでわらわに屈服したではないか。そなたの背中はわらわの足を投げ出すには本当に良いものだったぞ。
ちくしょう。俺はお前を認めさえしなければ現状は維持できると思っていた。だがそれはどうやら誤解だったらしいな。
そうだ。そなたが屈服に近づけば近づくほどゲームはわらわに有利に傾いていく。
Alright, so we really just have to deny Beatrice. Then the game won't swing into our favor.
チェスだってそうである。互いのキングを詰め合う過程でわらわたちは様々な駒を取り合っている。確かにわらわは未だそなたのキングを追い詰めてはおらぬ。しかしそなたはキングを逃すのに精一杯でいくつもの大駒を失い莫大なアドバンテージを失っておるわ。後の展開がわらわに有利に傾くのは当然のことよ。そなたはおそらくこれからも死に物狂いでわらわのチェックメイトだけからは逃れるだろう。だがその間にもわらわはそなたの大駒を次々に奪っていく。
What does she mean by stealing your important pieces? As in killing them off? Or turning them to their side? Her side? As in getting them to surrender to her? To accept her existence?
やがてはキング以外の全てを失いどのような形でも逃れることのかなわぬ本当のチェックメイトを受けることになろう。前回そなたは気鋭を吐いたな。わらわを永遠に認めぬ以上これはわらわを苛む永遠の拷問だなどと。永遠を語るのは無限の域に達した魔女だけよ。そなたにその資格など初めからないわ。
And we fade away into darkness back to Yokinjima.
Orgonの隠し場所についてはすでに金蔵様が私の肖像画の下に碑文にて公示されております。
Sounds like Maria's reading the letter out loud.
条件は碑文を読むことができるものすべてに公平に。黄金を暴けたなら私はすべてをお返しするでしょう。それではどうか今宵を金蔵様との知恵比べにて存分にお楽しみくださいませ。
But from the wording, it sounds like we are fighting Kinzo.
今宵が知的かつ優雅な夜になるよう心よりお祈りいたしております。黄金のベアトリーチェ。
When Maria finished reading the letter that Beatrice had handed her, everyone was at a loss for words for a while. And then, they all broke the silence at once.
バカバカしい。取るに足らない悪質ないたずらです。
まったくだ。親父殿が当主の指輪を手放すなどベアトリチェその名を語れば右往左往するだろうという見えすいたいたずらだ。
おいおい、このちょいとパンチの効きすぎたデザートを仕込んだのは誰なんだ。今なら喝采で褒めてやるから正直に白状しろよ。ローザか。
お父様の名を語るいたずらなんてしません。
じゃあ姉貴か兄貴か？
私？バカ言ってんじゃないわよ。兄さんでしょ、こういう悪趣味な仕掛けは。
愚弄する気か。私こそお前たちに問いたい。このたちの悪いいたずらは誰の仕業なんだ。
Kraus beat the table and stared at everyone. Since that included the children too, he scared them greatly.
お父様から財産の全権を任せられたと称する謎の人物からの手紙、そして今日がそれを話し合うための親族会議であることを考えると、いたずらだと決めつけるのも早計だと思うわ。
わからんで。まさにお父さんの悪趣味ないたずらかもしれん。自分抜きで遺産分配の話をまとめようとしているわしらをちょいと驚かせたくて仕組んだことかもしれん。
こいつを仕組んだのが親父だってんだ。アリアちゃんが読み上げた内容は冗談ってわけにはならねえぜ。
そうね、文面通りに解釈するならこれはお父様からのテストね。魔女の碑文は私たち誰にでも解けるようにずっと広間に掲示されていた。告示期間は十分。最初に解けた人間に家督と全ての財産を渡すと、そう言っているわけよね。
Oh my. Immediately my head went to Eva when I saw the headship. Well, it does give Eva motive to solve the epitaph.
私たちの魔法叶ったわ。
Whose voice is this? It's none that we've heard so far.
そんなバカな話はありません。
Wait. Oh, no. It's Eva's young self, I think. Maybe. Oh no. Okay, so Eva's young self did tell her a bit about the epitaph, right? And now she's saying that their magic worked because they've been given a sort of challenge by Kinzo, or so Eva puts it that way, to solve the epitaph to get the headship. Well, no one said anything about getting the headship, I don't think so, but Eva might have just thrown that in there to make it more favorable for herself.
後宮家の次期当主が夫であることは何ら揺るがない事実です。それを揺るがすのがこの手紙じゃない。この手紙はお父様に財産のすべてを全権委任された人物からのメッセージなのよ。
So Eva would be very on board with the contents of the letter, no? She would be supportive of this change. To be honest, I think anyone who's after the headship and the wealth will be on board with this. Only Kraus and Natsuhi would not like this letter, which kind of puts them at a more, makes me suspect them less. They have less of a motive to want to go along with this. That's what I'm saying.
もはや兄さんの当主継承権は白紙に戻ったわ。魔女の碑文を解いた者が、ベアトリーチェの黄金を見つけた者が後宮家の次の当主になるのよ。
バカバカしい。その手紙のざれ言を信用するのかね。その風浪が本物だとでも信用などできるものか。
ならお父様に直接話を聞いてみましょうよ。もう機嫌が悪いからとか体調が悪いとかそんな次元じゃないわよ。この手紙はお父様の代理人であることを風浪でちゃんと示してる。それを疑うなら兄さんが証明しなさいよ。この手紙がお父様の意志のものではないって。
よかろう。お前の言う通りだ。もう親父の機嫌不機嫌の問題ではない。上へ行き直接問いただそうじゃないか。
そうしようぜ。親父に直接聞こう。親父も親父だぜ。どうしてこんな回りくどい真似を。ま、そこが親父らしいんだがな。
お父様の手紙だということを前提に話を続けてもいいのかしら。
Rosa really acts like a young kid with her siblings.
バカローザ!
That's not good.
お父様の手紙に決まってんでしょ。あの手紙はお父様のなのよ。
And all the kids are still in this room. They can see everything that they're doing.
次期当主を私たち4人の中から選ぶための公平なチャンスに決まってるじゃない。バカ死ね、この役立たず。
Okay, that's not good, Eva.
ほんとローザって頭悪いわ。へそでも噛んで死んじゃえば。ごめんなさい。そうよね。ごめんなさい。
I don't know. It feels like everyone has motives, for sure. If Rosa wants to kill people, well, she has a motive because her siblings treat her like shit. Still, would any of them want to go that far? In the beginning, the adults had all doubted the authenticity of the letter. But after just now realizing that this was a once-in-a-lifetime chance for the 3 siblings other than Kraus in the struggle for the inheritance, Eva had changed her position and claimed that the letter was authentic. Rudolph and Rosa also realized that and agreed.
まったく、そんなくだらないいたずらを大の大人がこれほどまで真に受けるとは。お父様でなくても呆れたい気持ち、よくわかります。
夏日さん、それはお父さんに聞けば済む話やないか。お父さんがその手紙は知らんって一言言ってくれれば済む話やで。
兄さん、責任を持ってその手紙は知らないという一言を引き出すのよ。機嫌が悪そうだからってビビってる場合じゃないんだからね。
いい年してお父様が怖いなんてバッカみたい。
Well, I really appreciate this. This extra voices here.
へそ噛んで死んじゃえば。
おう、はっきり白黒をつけようじゃないか。今頃は書斎で食事中だろう。一度箸を休めてもらおうじゃないか。決まりだな。行こう。キリエはちょっと待っててくれ。真偽を確かめてすぐ戻る。
ありがとう。ゴーダさんがデザートを持ってくるのをのんびり待ってるわ。
The 4 siblings, Natsuhi and Hideyoshi, all stood from their seats forcefully and flew out into the hallway with a clatter. Afterwards, the only ones left were the children, stunned completely speechless, Nanjo, who looked uncomfortable, and Kirie, shrugging her shoulders. I definitely wouldn't want to be in that position. Maria, who had been at the center of all this turmoil, looked a little scared at the adults' sudden change. However, judging from her appearance, she didn't look like she realized the full significance of what she had just read out.
一体何事だってんだよ。わけわかんねえぜ。
どいつもこいつもクソったれだ。そんな兄さんが欲しいかよ。
みんな、これは親たちの問題なんだ。僕たちには関係ない。だから気にしちゃダメだ。
そうは言ってもよ。ああもうあからさまに。
見損なったぜ。欲の皮が突っ張ってやがる。
みんなで幸せになるって信じ合わないとダメ。
そうだね。僕たちはみんなで約束したもんね。ほら、バトラ君もジェシカちゃんも。
最悪の気分だぜ。
We couldn't accept it at all, but we laid down our arms for the time being. We had known vaguely how filthy the family conference was going to be this time. However, after that 6-year blank, I couldn't help being shocked. So would I. Seeing the children were completely dejected, Dr. Nanjo cleared his throat uncomfortably.
大人の話です。お若い皆さんとは関係のないことですよ。忘れてしまいましょう。
それができりゃやってるぜ。
辛いのはわかるわ。でも今は忘れてあげて。あなたたちの将来を少しでも豊かにするため、みんなの両親は必死で戦ってるのよ。そしてやがて傷つき帰ってくるお父さんたちを、どうかそんな冷たい目で迎えないであげて。
いくらキリエさんの頼みでもそれは難しいぜ。
そう割り切れるなら子供なんてやってねえぜ。
わーい、みんな幸せ、暗くなるのダメ、信じて、みんなで幸せになれるって信じないと幸せが逃げちゃう。みんなで信じないとダメなの。
いい話ね。私も信じるわ。私たちは幸せになれるわよ。
キリエおばさん、ありがとう。バトラとジェシカお姉ちゃんも信じて。ベアトリーチェも信じないと魔法が力を持たないっていつも言ってる。
Maybe that's why she wants everyone to believe in her, right? Which, well, yeah, she did say it just now. Kirie-san rose from her seat quietly and went over to Maria, crouched down so that their eyes met.
キリエおばさんが信じてくれた。あとバトラとジェシカお姉ちゃんが信じないとダメ。
二人とも強いもの。すぐに元気になってそうしてくれるわよ。
Kirie also really knows how to handle young children.
それより教えてほしいの。
Oh, she has something. When Kirie-san said that, Jessica, George Aniki, Dr. Nanjo, and I all listened closely. It looked like our parents' minds had been filled by thoughts of grandfather and the inheritance problem, but we wanted to ask Maria about something simpler.
何？
マリアちゃんにその手紙を渡したのって誰？
ベアトリーチェ。
肖像画に書かれている魔女の？
タサと一緒にこの手紙もくれたの。そしてね、マリアのバラが折れちゃってたのを魔法で直してくれたの。ベアトリーチェは何でもできるすごい魔女なの。
詳しく聞かせてくれるかしら。
Oh! It's been a while since we had that. 7 or 8? 8. The Witch's Written Challenge. Without even being allowed to wait for dessert, we were chased out of the room. I heard that, in the end, our parents were unable to get grandfather to respond. Well, I'm not sure I should be saying this, but I feel like grandfather deserves a pat on the back. He had to be feeling pretty satisfied with the shock his strange letter had given to his children, who had all been so infatuated with distributing the inheritance while he was still alive. I too felt like our despicable parents had gotten what they deserved in all of this confusion. But I couldn't really say that I was feeling great. I felt all sulky. Grandfather hadn't entertained them for a moment, but he also apparently hadn't denied anything about the letter. Grandfather's name pops up several times in the witch's letter. If grandfather knew that someone was stealing his name, then, considering his character, he would probably be mad with rage. That's an interesting point. But even though grandfather now knew the contents of that letter, he had coolly ignored it. In this case, did that count as a silent yes? Auntie Eva and Dad had been trying to interpret the letter in their favor, their greed clearly visible. Funny that was said, because they are the two people that I feel like have been saying quite odd things throughout episode 1 and 2. Well, not throughout, but sometimes they have odd things that they say. It wouldn't have mattered so much if that was all, but the adults had then started focusing on Maria, who had received the letter. They kept pounding her with questions about who had given her that letter. Oh, that's not good for Maria. Maria repeated over and over again that she had gotten it from Beatrice, but there was no way a mysterious person like that could be mixed in with the others on this island. After all, this is a small island where no one lives except the Ushiromiya family. Maria kept repeating that she had gotten it from Beatrice, no matter how many times she was asked. It seemed that the adults felt that she was trying to trick them, so they didn't hold back and questioned her until she broke out in tears. That's pretty cruel of them. By the time Maria was released, she had cried herself to the point of exhaustion. Our parents ordered us to go to the guest house and take Maria with us. Then shut themselves up in the dining hall and started getting louder and louder as they discussed the inheritance, and we are getting closer and closer to that fated time. It seemed that, because of that strange letter, a possibility had arisen that Uncle Krause's ability to become the next head could be returned to a blank slate. And in exchange for accepting him, my dad and the rest were trying to swindle Uncle Krause out of a lot of money, or something like that. Jessica and I, both astonished, were happy to move over to the guest house. We didn't want to be under the same roof as those filthy adults, their heads so filled with thoughts about money. George Aniki pleaded on behalf of our parents, saying that he wanted us to understand them. I understood his reasoning. No matter how filthy this talk of money was, it wouldn't go away if you just close your eyes to it. But even so, how could they be so blatantly degenerate into such money-grubbing demons? And the wind's getting stronger. Is this the guest house? I'm kind of scared. Maria had cried herself dry and was hiding in her bed. She hadn't even twitched for a while, so she was probably sleeping.
マリアちゃんは一体誰にあの手紙をもらったんだろうね。
ジョージ兄さん、それはもう聞いちゃダメだぜ。マリアがベアトリーチェにもらったって言うなら、それでいいじゃねえかよ。
これ以上、マリアを泣かせたくないしな。
That said, even we felt a confusion that we couldn't clear away.
この島には今18人しかいないんだよ。
We're back to this initial line of questioning. There are 18 people on this island.
そこにこの雨の中、未知の19人目がマリアちゃんに手紙を託して、今もどこかに隠れているというのは、正直現実的ではないね。
おそらくあの肖像画のドレスをシャノンあたりにでも着てもらって、うまくマリアと口裏を合わせたってことじゃねえのかな。もっともマリアの場合、あのドレスを見たらそれだけでベアトリーチェだと信じちまいそうだけどな。
It's kind of sad that people don't believe children, even when they usually won't have a reason to lie. So I believe Maria, but I also find it hard to believe that the witch is there. Well, she is there, or is she not? There's so many conflicting thoughts in my head.
誰が渡したかなんて、どうでもいい問題かもしれないな。大事なのは差出人だろ。要は、じいさまが黄金の魔女の名を語って、一波乱を起こしたかったってことなんだぜ。まったく、人騒がせなじじいだぜ。
The truth was probably that our occult-loving grandfather was playing around. By choosing a dramatic way of handing the letter over to Maria, who shared the same hobby as he did. Paying no heed, though, to the trouble it would cause Maria or the rest of us.
たく、マリアの純真な心をもてあそびやがって。手紙を渡したのが誰でもいいさ。 マリアがベアトリーチェにもらったって言うんだから、そういうことにしてやろうぜ。
同感だよ。そうしよう。子供にとってのサンタクロースみたいな存在が、マリアちゃんにとってはベアトリーチェなんだろうね。
いない19人目もサンタクロースも、俺たちが認めてやれば、それは少なくともマリアの中ではいるということになるわけだ。
I think the concept of existence is also something that keeps coming up. And here again, we see it. As long as we accept that 19th person or Santa Claus exist, they will at least exist inside Maria. I don't quite understand entirely what it means. Not now anyway. Maybe after I give it some more thought. But what does it mean to exist inside Maria? For Maria to believe that it is the truth? Or maybe it's something like not dashing her hopes? I don't know. So many questions.
なるほど。子供の夢を守るための嘘って大事だな。
So maybe I'm right.
お、どうしたんだよ、ジェシカ。まだ腹を立ててるのかよ。
Jessica had her hand on her chin, as though there was something that she just couldn't understand. When I called out to her, she came to her senses.
ああ、ごめん。いやさ、マリアが会ったのは、本当にベアトリーチェだったってことがあるんじゃないかな。
そりゃどういう意味だよ。この島に19人目の人間がいるって言いたいのか？
マリアちゃんの言うことを心から信じたなら、そういう答えに行き着くだろうね。
いや、そういうのじゃなくて、昔っからこの島には私たちの知らない誰かが住んでるんじゃないかって話はあったんだよな。
住んでるってどこに？
森の中にさ。
In the forest. Is it time for a flashback? Nope. No, it is not. The adults were gathered in a dining hall, spending a very long time continuing the discussion that had been started by Beatrice's letter. Krauss strongly claimed that the letter was a simple prank. But he couldn't overturn the claim that Kinzo's failure to deny the letter was answer enough. Judging by Kinzo's character, if he knew that a letter had been written by someone else in his name, he would be mad with rage. So then could we assume that the letter is in fact written by him or with his permission? Yeah. Since all of the siblings knew that, Krauss had no choice but to withdraw his claim. At death's door. Without even having to summarize it, the contents of the letter were simple. The person who solved the witch's epitaph would receive the headship and assets. This did a lot of damage to Krauss, who was thought to have been guaranteed the succession. And for everyone else, who had given up on that long ago, it was better news than they could ever have hoped for. However, there were some points that worried them. The person who solved the epitaph was not limited to a member of the Ushinomiya family. Taken literally, anyone, no matter how doubtful their origin, could succeed to the Ushinomiya family. And furthermore, this meant there was a chance that all of the Ushinomiya family's assets could be stolen by some unknown person. In that sense, it was definitely not a situation where anyone could lower their guard, even the siblings other than Krauss. Had this letter come from a saboteur sent by Kinzo who called themselves Beatrice? Or was this the scheme of some unknown person trying to steal the Ushinomiya family's wealth? They still didn't know the truth. But they could say one thing for certain. Maria had received this problematic letter today, on this island. In other words, Someone who was planning something related to that letter was on this island today. Was this person who set it up Kinzo, one of the 4 siblings, or maybe some unknown person? No matter how much they suspected each other, they couldn't reach a conclusion. After getting tired of bickering with each other, they finally reached the extremely obvious conclusion that doubting each other was just a waste of time.
拉致があかんね。無駄な時間を費やしたものだよ。
そうね。兄さんが気づいてくれるだけでこれ以上を浪費しなくて済むわ。
手紙の差出人がお父様と確定したわけではありませんよ。会話の成り立たないあなたに主人が呆れ果てただけです。
会話が成り立たないのはどっちよ。私が何か言うたびにあなたは怒鳴ってばかり。そんな無様で後ろ宮家にふさわしいと本気でお思いなのかしら。
予算かエヴァ。夏井さんも一度終わった話やで。
一度ここで頭を冷やさない？冷たいものでも持ってきてもらいましょうよ。
そうね。頭を冷やした方が賢明そう。あなたもそろそろ一服したくなってきたんじゃない？
姉貴の機嫌が悪そうだからな。一服の方は遠慮するぜ。だが冷たい方は賛成だ。ローザ、誰かに水を持ってこさせてくれ。水差しごとね。
Rosa headed over to the extension telephone in the corner of the room and called the servant room. She then passed on what Rudolph had told her to the person on the other end. You know, I'm kind of getting a bad feeling. I know something's going to happen, but I kind of get a bad feeling. The vicious bickering up until now vanished like it had never happened. The silence continued until Goda finished setting the table and retreated from the room.
他に何かご入り用のものはございますでしょうか？
ありません。もう下がりなさい。
はい。それでは失礼いたします。何かございましたらいつでもお呼びください。
After listening to the sound of Goda's footsteps disappear off into the distance, everyone took a deep breath at the same time to break the tension.
本当にすごい雨ね。19人目の魔女は今頃バラ庭園の東屋で雨宿りでもしているのかしら。
どうかしらね。雨はしのげるかもしれないけど、少し肩を冷やしそうね。
謎の19人目の来訪者か。ちょいと推理小説っぽくて面白い話やな。普通この手の話は18人の中の誰かが語ってるだけで、実際には存在せんと相場が決まっとるんや。
Why are they so self-aware? One of them is that 19th person. It's a possibility. It's definitely a possibility.
私は源氏たちが怪しいと睨んでいます。やはりどんな難癖をつけてでも片翼のわしの使用人たちは全て解雇した方が良かったんです。
まあそういうなら長く勤めてくれた恩もある。もちろん気は許せんね。
兄さんもお父様の仕業かどうかはともかく、あの手紙をマリアちゃんに渡したのは使用人の誰かだろうという点では同意するのね。
何しろ私たちは夕食までずっと仲良く団らんをしていたじゃないか。兄弟全員にアリバイがある。マリアに手紙を渡せたのは使用人の誰かだけだ。
でも使用人の人たちもみんなベッドメイクとかで忙しくて バラ庭園のマリアのところへ行く余裕なんかなかったって言ってたし。
おいおい、じゃあ何だってんだよ。まさか森の魔女ベアトリーチェ様がお越しになって本当にマリアちゃんに手紙を渡したって言い出すのか？
ローザ、昔は信じててすごい怖がってたものね。あんたまさかいい年してまだ信じてるの？森の魔女。
And that's the one that Jessica was saying before we faded into black, right? If she did exist, I'd love for her to appear. But no matter how much I wished, she didn't appear before me even once. She didn't save me from my crisis.
まさか。でも18人全員が自分は違うと言っている以上、本当に19人目がいるのかもって思っただけなの。
そんなんあらへんで。第一、船で来たのはわしらだけや。謎の乗船者なんぞわしらは姿も見とらん。まさかこの荒海を泳いで渡ってきたっちゅうんか？ちょいと考えられへんな。
理屈ではそうね。この隔絶された島に招かれていない客が一人隠れているというのは常識的に考えがたいんだけれど、でもどうもその可能性を捨てきれない人たちがいるみたいね。
Hideyoshi had laughed it off, saying that there couldn't be a 19th person. But Kirie had sensitively picked up on the delicate atmosphere among the four siblings. Just by common sense, there couldn't possibly be any uninvited guests on this small, isolated island. How on earth would they get here? And from where? And where would they be hiding themselves? And why wouldn't they appear openly, even though they had sent a letter in their own name? None of these could be explained. But considering that none of the four siblings had joined in on Hideyoshi's laughing, they seemed unable to completely deny in their hearts the possibility of a 19th person.
キリエさん、誤解しないでいただきたいが、別に私たちはおとぎ話じみた魔女伝説など、これっぱかりも信じちゃいないさ。
Rouse might say that, but he has a bar of gold that, didn't he say, makes him believe in the legend? Something like that, right?
またお父様を侮辱する話ですか？それを口にすること自体がお父様への裏切りです。
まあね。でもあのお父様ですもの。あるいは本当にねえ。
私は何も知らないわ。
なんやなんや。何を見学になっとるんや。どういうことや。つまり魔女伝説は笑い話でも何でもなく事実だっちゅうんか？そんなアホな。
もちろんほうきにまたがって空を飛ぶ魔女なんて誰も信じちゃいないさ。だがあの肖像画の女ベアトリーチェは本当にこの島に存在したかもしれない。
Existed. In past tense.
秀吉さん、魔女とかの話じゃなくてもっとシンプルな話みたいよ。つまりこういうことね。
Is she going to flip over the chessboard?
ベアトリーチェという名の愛人をお父さんがこの島のどこかに隠れ住まわせていたのではないかとみんなは疑っている。
All the creepy music has been playing for a while now. I'm scared.
そういうことかしら。
お父様は自己を厳しく律する模範的な方です。
Amazing how Natsuhi is such a starry-eyed view of Kinzo.
そのような汚らわしい存在を島に連れ込むなど到底考えられません。
Natsuhi snapped at her immediately, but it looked like the four siblings, including her husband Kraus, didn't think that way. On the contrary, it appeared that they thought Kinzo was exactly the kind of person likely to attempt such a stunt. The existence of a mistress who had Kinzo under her spell had been whispered of since the very beginning, when he had built the mansion on this island.
親父を尊敬してる夏日さんには悪いが、だいぶ昔からそういう噂はあったんだよね。親父は自分一人でこの六軒島の設備全てを作り上げた。屋敷の中には親父しかわからない仕掛けや隠し部屋なんかがあるんじゃないかって初めから疑われてたし。
Hidden tricks and secret rooms.
俺たちの知らない秘密の屋敷がこの島のどこかに隠されてるんじゃないかともずっとささやかれてた。
そうね。地図上は小さな島かもしれないけれど、後ろ宮家だけが住むには広大すぎる島だわ。そして未開の森のどこかに愛人を住まわせるための隠し屋敷を作ったかもしれないと、そう思われてたのね。ずいぶんスケールの大きな話ね。
最初はそれはこの屋敷の中じゃないかと言われてた。秘密の地下とかがあったりして、そこに豪華な隠し部屋があり、あの肖像画の魔女が隠れ住んでるんじゃないかとかな。
But it also doesn't really make sense, right? Why would he keep his mistress hiding somewhere? Especially since everyone already suspects that he has a mistress.
親父の書斎の凝ったオートロックの仕掛けとかを見てると、それも納得できるだろう。
何しろ莫大な黄金をどこか秘密の場所に秘密の仕掛けで隠したと吹聴する親父殿だ。この屋敷とてまだ我々の知らぬ隠し部屋があったとしても驚くには足りんね。
お母様は存命中。よくお父様の不在をついて屋敷内をしらみつぶしに探し回ってたわね。ルドルフが言ったことをお母様も疑ってたのよ。どこかに秘密の扉や階段があって、その中に金髪の愛人が隠れていると信じていたわ。
It's hard to believe, but there are some actual examples in other countries of people cheating with someone over a period of several decades by making them live in a hidden attic room. Okay, that kind of explains it then. Still, it's so odd. It's so odd. And this was Kinzo with a mansion this extravagant. There was endless opportunity to suspect the existence of hidden rooms.
六軒島の魔女伝説って、私の聞いてた話では、子供たちが未開の森に入り込まないようにって言って作った、怖がらせるためのおとぎ話だったんだけど、なんだかそれだけじゃないって気がしてきたわ。
まあな、何しろ後ろ宮の屋敷以外に何もない寂しい島だからね。俺やローザがガキの頃は、そりゃ雷雨の夜に森から聞こえてくる木々のざわめきに怯えたもんさ。その木々の間から不気味な何かが様子を伺ってるんじゃないかなんて妄想。ガキだったら誰でも考える自然なものさ。だが俺やローザがそう訴えるのを聞いて、ガキの妄想だろでは済まさない連中もいたってことなんだろうな。そうだろ姉貴。
私や兄さんはこの島に隠れ住んでいる愛人が人目を忍んで出歩いていたのを偶然あんたたちが目撃したのではないかと考えていたわ。もちろんお母様もね。
古い使用人たちの中にも深夜の屋敷内に肖像画の魔女が徘徊しているというような怪談が語られていた。私はそれを表向き怪談として笑い捨てていたが、 内心は秘密の愛人の存在を十分に疑っていたよ。
となるとこの島に19人目の何者かがいるかもしれないってのは全くバカバカしい話でもないっちゅうことなんか。いやむしろどこかにいるかもしれないわけか。
よくルドルフさんの言う悪魔の証明というやつになったわね。19人目がいることは証明可能だけれど、19人目が存在しないことは証明不能。私たちはベアトリーチェという名の人物が島のどこかに潜んでいることを前提に議論を進めるべきなの？
危機管理の基本としては正しいな。いるわけがないと思うよりはいるかもしれないと用心する方がはるかにマシだろうよ。
そうやな。すまん、ちょいと不用心が過ぎたわ。ローザさん、さっきは笑ってすまんかったな。
別に気にしてないです。
Hideyoshi apologized deeply for not being conscious enough of danger, despite calling himself the president of a company. Rosa is so meek with her siblings. Silence fell again. By preparing for the existence of a 19th person, they were accepting that some unknown person was hidden on this island. And with that, they removed suspicion from themselves onto that 19th person. And since this person might have something bad planned for them, it was only natural that it came with a certain degree of discomfort.
親父殿はかつて不意に所在を知らせずに姿を消すことがあった。何しろ静寂を好むお人だからな。わざと所在を知らせずどこかの書庫に閉じこもっているなどということは別に不思議なことではなかったよ。しかし魔女伝説が愛人説にすり替わり、やがてそれはこっそり愛人のもとへ通っているのではないかと囁かれるようになった。
末期のおふくろは疑心暗鬼の塊だったからな。突然大騒ぎして使用人たちに緊急事態だから今すぐ親父を探せなんて騒ぎ始めることがあったっけ？
あったわね。晩年のお母様はそんなことばかりだったから未だにその怖い雰囲気が拭えないわ。今だから言える。かわいそうな人だったわ。
それでその大々的な家探しの結果どうだったんや。何か見つかったか？
いいえ、隠し部屋はおろか一度たりともお父様が発見されたことはないわ。そしていつもそれからだいぶ時間が経ってからひょっこりとどこかの書庫で昼寝していたとか、風に誘われて浜辺を散歩していたとかなんとか言ってね。でもそれらの場所はいずれも使用人たちが必ず探している場所。お父様がどこに行っていたのかはいつもわからなかった。
So they're saying that Kinzo has been going off to places that none of them are aware of.
当時からお父様はオカルトに傾倒していることが有名だったから、一部の使用人たちは蝶にでも化けてバラ庭園を待っていたのだろうなんて嘘吹いていたっけ。
つまりお父さんは誰も知らないどこかへ姿を消すことが頻繁にあったのね。
ああ、どんなに屋敷中を探しても見つからないんだから親父は屋敷の外へ行っているのだろうという見解になった。だが屋敷の外ったってそれほど大した場所はない。となると残るのは広大な森だ。それで森の魔女伝説と融合してできた仮説はこうだった。親父は実は森のどこかに隠し屋敷を作っていて、そこにベアトリーチェという名の愛人を住まわせていて、時折通っているんじゃないかってわけだ。
私も当時は若くてね、親父殿の浮気の現場を抑えてやろうと意気込み、表へ出る親父の後をつけようとしたことがある。 もちろん失敗したよ。親父は表へ出るとき異様に人目を嫌い、誰かに見られてないか警戒していた。それこそ異常なくらいね。
Yeah, that is odd. He's so careful not to reveal where he is going, but he is obviously doing something kind of shady or suspicious. Whether it's actually visiting his mistress or something else, he is acting really odd. His actions are very suspicious.
だから逆に確信したよ。家人に知られてはならぬ理由で出かけているに違いないとね。
Right.
そら愛人のところへ出かけるんや。一目も忍ぶやろな。
After seeing Hideyoshi nod and say yes, yes, as though this was quite obvious, Eva got a little sullen.
まあとにかく西洋かぶれのお父様が自分の夢をまるでスケッチブックに描くみたいに実現したのがこの島なのよ。すべてがお父様の思い通りの島。愛人を住まわせる隠し屋敷があっても何の不思議もない。
Eva's words spoke for what all of the siblings had come to think. For a while, the room returned to silence again, and everyone listened to the sound of the wind and rain. Was there a hidden mansion on this island, and had Kinzo's mistress been living there, in hiding for a long, long time? Every one of them had thought that they were being too suspicious, and had refrained from saying it for the longest time, but it had been a common opinion that everyone shared. Kirie, who had been listening the whole time with her eyes closed, spoke to no one in particular.
そのお父様の愛人の噂はいつ頃から？
この島に引っ越してきた当初からだから、あれこれ30年くらい前だな。何しろ隠し屋敷の工事なんて俺たちが島に来ちまったら無理だろう。人とか機材の出入りがあるもんな。すぐにバレちまうさ。だから可能だとしたら俺たちが引っ越してくる以前、多分俺たちがまだ小田原に住んでいた頃にこの屋敷の工事と一緒に住ましていたんだろうよ。
お父様は家族生活と愛人との生活の2つを両立させようと最初から想定していたと考えるのが妥当なんでしょうね。多分愛人との関係は小田原時代にまで遡るでしょうし。
だろう。親父殿が言うように後宮家復興の軍資金となった莫大な黄金が彼女によってもたらされたとするなら、小田原時代にはもう信仰があったと見るべきだろう。莫大な黄金を貸し付けられるだけの信頼関係だ。どれほどの古い縁か想像もつかんね。
おそらくお父様が事業で成功する上で何か貴重な助言をしてくれたのでしょう。
Now Natsuhi has bought into the mistress theory.
それに恩を感じ、その人物が黄金を与えてくれたというような言い方をしたと考えるのが自然です。そうと考えればその後も信仰があったのは当然でしょう。それはおそらく愛人というただれた関係ではなく、後宮家の危機を救った恩人としてに違いありません。
I see. Natsuhi still defends his honor.
夏希さんの言うのも一理あるかもわからんな。だが仮にそうでも隠し屋敷を作って住まわせるってのはちょいと行き過ぎた話やろな。恩だけでは計れん感情があったんとちゃうか。
まあ全ては憶測だ。第一、その隠し屋敷は誰も見つけたことがねえ。兄貴はこの島をリゾート開発する気なんだろ。その際にひょっこり見つかるかもしれねえぜ。案外そこに黄金もあったりするかもな。
お前は六軒島を宝島か何かだとでも思っているのかね。
とぼけないでよ。 兄さんがリゾート開発と称して島の全域調査を計上しようとしてたのを知ってるのよ。
Oh my, never thought of that.
例のトラブルのごたごたでできなくなっちゃったそうだけどね。
なんだか知らんが誤解だな。島の調査はリゾート化の第一段階として極めて当然のことだ。
Krause tried to play dumb, but it was plainly obvious to his siblings, who knew him so well. Krause was definitely sure of the existence of a hidden mansion. And under the pretense of opening a resort, he had been investigating the island in detail, searching for a clue as to the location of the hidden gold. Right, since he does have proof of the hidden gold. They couldn't tell whether that conviction was just him overthinking things, or whether it was based on some physical proof. However, if Krause, with all his guile, was convinced, then the other siblings were similarly convinced that there must be a sufficient basis for it.
森に魔女が住んでるっちゅうのはそのまんまおとぎ話やが、森の中に誰も知らない屋敷があって金髪の姉ちゃんがひっそり隠れ住んどるっちゅうのも十分おとぎ話やな。
そうね。シチュエーションだけだったらまるで童話か何かみたいね。ローザ、そういうの好きでしょ。
まあね。
この島に屋敷を建てた頃は親父殿の特に全盛期だ。金に物を言わせてどんな妄想も実現しただろう。森の中にひっそり佇む魔女の屋敷。親父の好きそうなシチュエーションだ。
だな。オカルトチックというかメルヘンチックというか親父の趣味って気がするぜ。
On this island, which the Ushiromiya family had lived on for 30 years now, a hidden mansion that no one knew about had been quietly built, and within there lived a witch known only by her portrait. Even this hard-to-believe story might not be completely delusional, considering all of Kinzo's strange habits and his vast wealth.
お父さんがそういう夢を思い描いて隠し屋敷を建てることは不可能じゃないかもしれない。でも現実的な話、その隠し屋敷に愛する女性を不自由なく何十年にもわたって住まわせることなんて可能なのかしら。
さあ、愛さえあれば可能なんじゃない？
愛する女性が健やかに過ごせるような設備よ。
Why was I just hit with the image of a dead Beatrice? What if everything is just Kinzo's imagination and yeah, his delusion and all of this is all fake? This is all inside Kinzo's mind.
それもお父さんなりのね。それはたとえ規模が小さかったとしても、趣向を凝らした快適な邸宅に違いない。そしてそれを維持するには、電気、ガス、水道、あるいは身の回りの世話に人間も必要かもしれない。食事の世話だって大変でしょうね。衣服や化粧品、日用品。女の身の回りは簡単じゃないわ。それだけのものを家人にも使用人にも悟らせずに維持することって可能なのかしら。
そこまで言われると確かに弱いな。だがそれでも親父ならやってのけるかもしれんという気持ちは残る。何しろあの親父だからな。
そうね、あのお父様だものね。
お父様はやり遂げることは何があってもやり遂げます。常人には難しいから無理だろうという理由はお父様に関してだけは当てはまらないでしょう。
親父殿に関してだけは見くびらん方がいい。親父の狂気は常人の思考では理解にも及ばん。
I wouldn't put it past the Ushiromiya Kinzo. As long as the word could accompany his name, a considerable amount of credibility dwelled in any story, no matter how absurd. However, that didn't shake the importance of what Kirie had said. This was different from stealthily raising a kitten in a cardboard box and keeping it a secret from your parents. Taking care of a person in secret over a period of 30 years would be an incalculably massive task.
お父さんの黄金伝説は六軒島を取得する前からや。となると、その愛人との縁は30年以上ということになるな。ってことは今いくつなんや。下手をしたらわしらと同じかそれ以上の年齢とちゃうか。体にもボロが出る年頃のはずや。どんな屋敷か知らんが人目に触れんようなほとんど軟禁に近い生活はそう快適とは言えんやろな。
I agree with Hideyoshi here.
そうね。お父様が語るベアトリーチェについての話が正しいなら、その縁は30年以上。当時は魅惑的な若い女性だったかもしれないけど、今は私たちと同格のタフな食えない女と考えるのが妥当でしょうね。手紙の内容からも、それは容易に想像できるわ。
お前が言うか。
Krause laughed, as though blind to his own shortcomings. Of course, Eva was offended, but she didn't strike back.
よせよ、兄貴。
Strange that she didn't, but...
そして俺たちの想像が本当なら、親父の遺産問題に彼女は胸を張って参加したいはずなんだ。何しろ、お袋と違い、相思相愛だった可能性が高いからね。
It's kind of sad that we don't get to see their mother at all. And, well, she was married to a guy like Kinzo, so her life must not have been very great either.
本人には愛人の自覚と同時に正妻としての誇りもあるかもしれない。
それはお母様への侮辱にあたりますよ。
ああ、すまん。だが親父とお袋が親戚の長老たちによる政略結婚だったことは誰もが知ってる。だからこそ親父に愛人がいてもおかしくないと確信できるわけだがな。
The family sank after the Great Kanto earthquake, and Kinzo was set up as the Ushiromiya family head against his will. However, in the beginning, he was influenced strongly by the elder relatives who treated him like a puppet while they pulled the strings. He wasn't permitted to decide anything by himself, not even his marriage partner. And by his meeting with the Golden Witch Beatrice in those unhappy days, Kinzo's legend of the gold was quickly embellished into something dramatic. In other words, it could mean that Kinzo met with a woman he really did love. If she also knew his whole story, then even if they weren't marriage partners, it wouldn't have been odd for her to consider herself his true wife inside her heart. And now, the person registered as his true wife was already dead. Why wait so long?
となると、財産権どころか家督争いにも食い込む気満々ってことになるで。
なるほどな。この手紙の趣旨が少しだけ見えてきたよ。碑文の謎を解く者に家督を、そういう意味か。
仮にその愛人が後ろ宮家に序列を得ていたとしても、その序列はお父様の血を直接引かない以上子供に劣る。つまり序列はローザより一つ下ね。とても家督争いに加われるようなレベルじゃないわ。
そういうことか。魔女の碑文を解けば序列に関係なく家督が告げる。つまり全く可能性のないベアトリーチェにとって最も有利な条件ってわけだ。
I see. If we were to think of it as not a witch or a Beatrice sending a letter, then yeah, they're right. That this would be favorable for someone who is not a direct relative to Kinzo or a member of the Ushiromiya family. And of course, this is most beneficial for literally everyone else except Kraus, which kind of puts Kraus at... makes me suspect Kraus a lot less than I already do. Kraus is like the least likely person to want to stage this. The revival of the Ushiromiya family had been made possible by the gold Beatrice had bestowed. In other words, the credit belonged to her. She had built the wealth together with Kinzo, so it was natural that she would have thought of herself as the one who should inherit it. It would also be natural for her to despise the thought of giving a single cent to the children of the wife Kinzo had never loved.
ずうつうしいにも程があります。仮に愛人が実在したとしても、当主継承権を争うなど、身の程をわきまえぬ暴挙です。なんという身の程知らず。
Natsuhi turned red, her fist quivering. There were also complicated circumstances behind her entry into the Ushiromiya register. Those who knew that understood more or less why she was angry for the sake of Kinzo's dead wife.
まあ、その暴挙のおかげで私たちにも公平にチャンスがあるわけなんだけどねえ。それにお父様はこの暴挙を黙認されている。後宮家を継ぐのは愛人ベアトリーチェか、愛はなくとも血を受け継ぐ私たちか。それを争わせて確かめたいというのでしょうね。
To be honest, it does seem like Kinzo would do something like that. Make them fight over each other. As Eva giggled roguishly, Kraus shrugged his shoulders and looked away.
でも、その条件を向こうが出してきたということは、向こうは十分な勝算があるということじゃないのかしら。
それもそうや。
I appreciate Kirie's very clear-headed thinking.
第一、ベアトリーチェはあの手紙の文面通りなら、お父さんの顧問錬金術師、つまり黄金の管理者や。その隠し場所を知っていても何の不思議もないやないか。こらひどい話やで。答えを知っている謎々を出してきたも同じや。これでシャーシャーと現れて、これが答えや、家督はいただきやでなんて言われたら、わしらすべてかっぱらわれちまうわ。
Maybe that's why she's giving all of you days to solve.
そうね。謎々の出題者は常に正解を知っているものよ。これは私たちから全てを奪うために作られた罠の可能性が高いわ。
そこまで考えると、そもそも彼女が本当に黄金を持っているかどうかは怪しいと思わんかね。なぜ我々にその存在を教える。黙って着服すればよいもの。
確かにおかしな話だな。
Indeed, it was just as they said. If the epitaph showed the way to where the gold was hidden, why would she challenge them to try to solve it? If they actually did solve it, wouldn't the gold all be stolen? Could it be that this person was trying to stir the siblings up so that they tried to solve the epitaph and would then snatch it up before they did solve it? That was a very reasonable guess.
いいえ、チェス盤をひっくり返して考えれば、黄金を実際に持っている可能性は低くないかもしれない。
どうしてそんなことが断言できるのよ。
待て姉貴。キリエ、続きを話してくれ。
It really does seem like Rudolph values Kirie's words or thinking.
どうしてそう思うんだ。
だって私たちは魔女の碑文なんていう謎々の答えを教えられたくらいで、本気で後宮家の家督を明け渡す気？謎々の答えに感服して降参を？
そらまあ、
それもそうやな。謎々の答えを教えられたくらいで、わしらがあっさり降参して、家督をはいどうぞと渡すかっちゅうたら、そら甘い話やな。
当然です。後宮家の家督をそんな程度のことで譲ることがあるわけがない。
そういうことよ。いくらベアトリーチェが一方的にこんなゲームを提案しても、そして見事その答えを示してみせたとしても、私たちは家督を素直に譲るわけもない。つまり私たちがこのゲームに対等な条件で挑まなくてはならないという強制力がない限り、このゲームは成立しないのよ。
そうだな。
I'm still trying to process what exactly Kirie means, or what those conditions would be.
負けた時、家督を譲ることに強制力を持たせなきゃこのゲームは成立しない。
Okay, thank you, Rudolph, for clarifying this. So, the losers will be forced to hand over the headship. And perhaps that would be death?
その強制力というのはどういう意味だね。我々を鎖で縛って家督を譲るよう脅迫でもしようというのかね。
You can't have the headship if you're dead.
なるほどね。わかったわ。私たちが喜んで家督を放棄したくなるようにすればいいわけね。なるほど。ならば確かにベアトリーチェは10トンの黄金を持っていなければならない。
No, I still don't get it. I still don't get it. I'm gonna have to think about it.
そうか。わしにもわかったで。
I don't.
つまり取引っちゅうわけやな。
Oh, okay. So, the witch is going to trade the gold for the headship?
どういう意味ですか？取引？何を？
後宮家の家督と隠し黄金をよ。ベアトリーチェはきっと10トンの黄金の所在を明かし、それで後宮家の家督を買収するつもりなのよ。
バカバカしい。栄光ある後宮家の家督をお金でやり取りしようというのですか？冒涜です。後宮家への冒涜です。
怒らずに聞いて。その栄光ある後宮家には今どの程度の財産があるの？私たちはそんなにも裕福なの？
裕福の定義とは財産で決まるのではありません。心の持ちようで決まります。
Natsuhi.
私たちの財産状況が一体何の？
Kraus interrupted Natsuhi as she started to go on emotionally. In this situation, the more she went on and on emotionally, the worse it would actually sound for them.
私はともかくお前たちの状況は芳しくないと聞いているよ。
あらそう。兄さんの財政状況だって相当に芳しくないと聞いているわよ。次々担保に入れて新しい博打の掛け金にして負けを認めないために次々新しい博打に手を出して内情の話をしたらこの中で兄さんほど火の車の人間は存在しないわ。どれだけ損失を出してんのよ兄さんは。才能ないのよ。
誰の才能がないというのですか？言うにこと書き火の車とは。
Natsuhi became indignant once again, but Kraus raised his hand again and interrupted her.
多少の誤解があるようだ。ビジネスは定価で判断できるものではない。私のような長期的視野でのビジネスともなると、時に短い単位期間では一見大きな損失を出しているようにも見えるものだ。
兄貴、裏は取れてんです。今は見栄を張ってる場合じゃない。つまりキリエはこう言いたいのさ。 俺たちは全員が全員金に困ってる。そしてベアトリーチェは10トンの黄金を持っている。
ベアトリーチェは自分だけがありかを知る10トンの黄金で私たちに家督を売らせるつもりなのよ。10トンの黄金の価値はどのくらい？ざっと見積もって20億？いえ、200億ね。これだけを積まれたら私たちは歓喜して彼女を次期当主に認めるわ。
That might make sense. The scene returned to silence. Even the rain and the wind sounded louder. That was probably also the sound of the windstorm that disturbed the insides of their minds.
冗談じゃないわよ。多少お金を積まれたくらいでどこの馬の骨とも知れない女に家督を譲るなんて。
アホ抜かせ。もともとお前に家督なんぞいかんやないか。
What happened?
わしらは何も失わずに金だけをもらえる話やで。そら損得感情は必要やろが、聞くに値する話や。
They knew that much of the Ishinomiya family assets had been eaten up by crows. The dregs that remained of the inheritance versus the compensation for being accepted as the head that Beatrice would pay. This definitely sets a motive up for them. It was a shame, but honestly, the former was less enticing than the latter.
まあ、4等分とはならねえだろうな。次期当主を降りることになる兄貴に取り分が多くなるのはやむを得ねえだろうよ。羨ましい話だぜ。
あなた、金額の問題じゃないでしょ。不甲斐ない弟たちはお金で後宮家の栄光を売り払うつもりなのですよ。ここで長男の威厳を示さずして何とするのです。
Tell him off, Natsuhi.
夏希、しばらく黙っていなさい。
あな
た！こりゃあクラッとくる話だぜ。俺たちは兄貴から2億半ずつ引っ張ろうと思ってた。もし魔女様が俺たちに10トンのうちの1割も弾んでくれたなら、
20億ね。
ああ、俺たちは当初の見積もりの10倍も弾まれちまうことになる。そんだけあれば俺たちは十分だぜ。どうせ後宮なんて名前に未練はねえんだ。喜んで売っ払ってやら。
I can't help but feel like maybe that's not really the intent of the proposal. Or at least in a letter. I don't know. Selling off the headship for gold doesn't really make any sense. Considering, like the siblings say, they don't have any attachment to the Ushinomiya name, so what's the point of Beatrice getting that headship? What would she even have left afterwards? It's not like they have money either, considering these greedy siblings are so desperate for more money.
10トンすべてを提供してくれるかはさすがに川山用だとしても、なるほど、私たちにとって魅力的な話になるわね。私たちはベアトリーチェなどというよそ者を弾き出すために兄弟同盟を組もうとしていた。しかし彼女の目論みがこうならば、私たち兄弟の団結はバラバラにされるわ。ええ、今こそはっきり断言できる。ベアトリーチェの手紙の目的は私たちの結束をかき乱すことなのよ。
If the three younger siblings, who were never going to have any connection with the succession of the headship in the first place, were paid enough money to satisfy them, they would happily accept Beatrice as the next head. So every obstacle to her headship would be removed except for Kraus. In that case, the negotiations would be one-on-one between her and Kraus. He tried to look strong, but Kraus's financial and political situation was extremely weak. He did bluff in front of his siblings, but on the inside, he was probably thinking that it might be alright to enter negotiations depending on the sum of money involved. In order to bury his losses, Thurs had taken advantage of the fact that Kinzo had shut himself up in this room and had embezzled Kinzo's personal assets. Therefore, when Kinzo died and inheritance was distributed, Thurs would be held to account for that. But if he gave up his seat as the head to Beatrice, she would also receive the rights to the assets, and as a result, the distribution of the inheritance to the siblings would not occur. In other words, Thurs' embezzlement might not have to be made known to the other siblings. Of course, the siblings were frightened of Kinzo, but it was doubtful whether they still actually respected him as a father. By this time, they each had their own families, their own wealth, and their own lives. But if they were paid enough money in exchange for Rokenjima, the wrecked remains of Kinzo's dreams, there was a significant possibility that they would relinquish the Ushiro-Miya family name. In other words, Beatrice's victory was already guaranteed in this game. Not as the winner of Beatrice's game, but as the winner of Kinzo's game. What? Kinzo had put up the epitaph, and to this day, no one had been able to solve it. So Beatrice had solved it. How so? In other words, this is less of a game and more like Beatrice's declaration of victory. However, Kirie still felt something was slightly out of place. If this was a declaration of victory, Beatrice would only have to display the gold openly and state that she would buy the family headship. And yet, even at this late stage, she was explicitly telling the siblings to try to solve the epitaph. Why had she set up this new game, where she had agreed to hand over all of the gold and the right to succeed the head to the person who solved the epitaph? Kirie tried flipping over the chessboard several times, searching for the best strategy that might have guided Beatrice to this line of thinking. In the end, she reached a single conclusion. I'm curious to know what it is.
おごりなのかしら。
Arrogance?
あるいは遊び？
何の話？
魔女は、碑文を解いてみろと私たちに挑戦状を送ったわ。どうせ解けないだろうと高をくくってるでしょうけどね。
I see.
でも、何万分の1かの確率で私たちが解いてしまう可能性もあるはず。何しろ、ここにはお父さんの血を引く子供が4人もいるのよ。出題者の血縁者が4人も揃い、財産を奪われまいと死に物狂いで知恵を出し合ったなら、偶然にも謎が解けてしまうこともあるかもしれない。
The reason the witch had a superior position on the negotiations compared to the siblings was that only she knew the location of the hidden gold. But if that hidden place or hiding place was exposed to someone other than her, the witch's superior position would crumble.
つまり、魔女の手紙に書かれている挑発文は、ベアトリーチェにとってリスクにしかならないのよ。確かに、兄弟の連帯を分断するという効果はあったけれど、それを狙うためだけに、わずかとはいえこのようなリスクを？
I feel like everything is just kind of going over my head right now. It's so complicated.
私は不用心だと思う。でもね、ある種の感情を念頭に置いたとき、このリスクは理解可能になるのよ。
それがおごりだというの？
ええ、そうよ。圧倒的な優位に立つと人はおごるわ。すると敗者に対しその優位性をひけらかすために微小なリスクをわざと背負うことがある。適度なリスクは勝利の喜びを引き立たせるスパイスだもの。
Does sound like Beatrice.
リスクなき勝利ほど退屈なものはない。
わかるわ。私もそういうの。
好きだもの。よくわかるわ。
ベアトリーチェの手紙の真意をもっともらしくいろいろと解釈してみたけれど、実はこれが真実かもしれない。あの手紙の裏に潜む感情はおごりなのよ。
おごり。
難解な碑文がお前たちに解けるものかと私たちを見下して威張り散らしたいのよ。案外ひょっとすると碑文はお父さんじゃなく彼女が作ったのかもしれないわね。
上等じゃないの。碑文の謎が解けるかですって。
もしも解いたなら私を当主にしてくれるのね。解いてやる。魔女の挑戦を受けてやるわ。他の間抜けな兄弟たちに解けるものか。私一人が解いて、私こそが後ろ宮家を引き継ぐにふさわしいということを証明してやるわ。
その挑戦乗ったわ。
Why are their eye colors different though? Eva's young self and her current self, or am I not looking at it properly?
私が謎を解いてやる。
Oh? 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 So this episode, we had a lot of things happen in regards to, well, mostly the discussion of the inheritance problem and also, you know, Beatrice's letter. There were many things that were happening and they were all very confusing. So seeing the siblings say that they understood what was happening made me feel like I was still confused. I still didn't understand. Every time someone said, "Oh, I got it," I was like, "What? What did I get? I didn't get anything." But anyway, that's really not important. What I wanted to say is, after this episode, there were a lot of things on my mind, and I have some questions, which I guess I will get into first. So for me, I think what stood out was Kraus saying that he was so convinced. Kraus was very convinced that there is a hidden mansion or something. And well, I guess it is made more convincing for him because he does have the gold from Kinzo's legend. He knows that the gold exists somewhere, and maybe that's why he thinks that the gold is in a mansion or at least somewhere on Rokinjima. There is a good reason for why he wants to comb through the entire island. So something is going on over there. They did say that Kinzo likes to travel out of the mansion and go off somewhere, but he will always look around and check whether anyone is like following him. So there is that, but I don't really know what he's doing. Do I think he's visiting a mansion? I find it hard to believe, to be honest. I don't really think there is a hidden mansion, but probably there is gold. But what is Kinzo doing outside then? That's something that I still don't really know. Moving on to the main meat of the issue. From what I understand, the letter can be interpreted in two ways. One, it's a roundabout way of Beatrice telling them that she's buying the headship, and two, that Beatrice is giving them the opportunity to attain the headship by solving the epitaph. In any case, Natsui is against this proposition because she seemingly loves the Ushiromiya family and is very traditional, so she holds respect and loyalty for that name. Kraus and Rudolph and Rosa, on the other hand, will be on board to sell the headship for gold, and Kraus, more than anyone else, would do so because he needs to wipe his hands clean of the inheritance distribution problem, of which he would likely have to settle out of pocket with his siblings for his embezzlement. And for Rudolph and Rosa, straightforward, they just have financial difficulties. Eva, on the other hand, would be on board because it has always been her lifelong goal to beat Kraus and be acknowledged as a possible heir to the Ushiromiya headship. So I think in this case, it really boils down to how the contents of the letter can be interpreted. Is Beatrice asking to buy the headship, or is she giving an opportunity to anyone to become the next head? And Kirie also mentions that something doesn't add up. Why would Beatrice urge them to solve the epitaph when she could just tell them that she has the gold, so give me the headship? She says that it's arrogance or that she's playing around, and Beatrice sneers at them, believing with utmost certainty that they will never be able to solve the epitaph. However, like Kirie says, there is always a small possibility that someone can solve it or will solve it. And when that happens, she will lose, she being Beatrice, will lose the gold that she's been using as a bargaining chip. And personally, I think Beatrice wants to play with a certain amount of risk, though this is just Beatrice being Beatrice, since she's always so bored of winning all the time. So I think this is just something that Beatrice has added in to make the game a bit more fair, maybe? Beatrice also was said to be the winner of Kinzo's game. I don't quite understand that, but let's entertain the possibility that both of them are playing their own games. So, Kinzo's game being the epitaph, by making the others solve it, Beatrice supposedly would have won. But it's also said that Beatrice's victory is already guaranteed. Is she saying that she doesn't think anyone will be able to solve it, therefore she wins by default? So many questions, not enough answers, but it definitely gave me a lot to think about, and I'm sure this will help us approach what will happen later in the episode and future episodes as well, I think. But in any case, thank you so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!